Hey, happy Friday. All right, so reading through some of the Old Testament and New Testament, different places throughout the Bible, but I'm in Jeremiah chapter 24 today, and I'm reading through the passage about the vision of the figs. And so 24:2 says, one basket had very good figs, even like the figs that are first ripe, and the other basket had very naughty figs, which could not be eaten. They were so bad. Right, that naughty meaning bad, that naughty meaning evil, and we'll see that throughout as we read. But in this vision that God gives Jeremiah, he's about to reveal something to him. And so we're going to take this and let it reveal something to us, right? That's what I try to do. And see what can I gather from this passage? What application can I make to my life? So in verses 4-7, we see specifically there were like the vision, the good figs and the bad figs. It says, again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel. So here's the interpretation of that vision God gave. It says, like these good figs, so will I acknowledge them that are carried away captive of Judah, whom I have sent out of this place into the land of the Chaldeans for their good. Who I sent for their good. So remember, there were three different captivities of people being taken out of the land and placed other places. Some did end up staying. We'll read about those. But in this case, just remember that it says whom I sent for their good. It says, for I will set mine eyes upon them for good, and I will bring them again to this land, and I will build them and not pull them down, and I will plant them and not pluck them up, and I will give them a heart to know me, that I am the Lord, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God, for they shall return unto me with their whole heart. So we see these good figs, right? The good figs that he talked about. And just, it got me thinking this morning specifically, right? We may know some things, but reiteration is always a good way to learn. This was God's doing, right? And it was for their good. A lot of times we have a hard time seeing the good in our captivity, seeing the good in our chastening, seeing the good and getting a correction. It's really hard sometimes to see that because it's difficult, because it's painful, right? Because there's just so much pain involved in those things. But a lot of times the things that we go through are God's doing, and therefore are good. And so how, right? I'm thinking, like, how can it be for our good? How can this help us? Well, he talks specifically right there in those last couple of verses about the heart. Give them a heart to know me, and they'll return with their whole heart. This is God's desire. He wants us to know him. He wants us to return to him, because just living in this old sinful world is enough to draw us away sometimes, right? We can backslide. It talks about in the Bible, we can turn away from, we can make choices to put other things above God. And we do that sometimes. It's just very matter of fact. We do that because our hearts are desperately wicked, right? The things that are in them are not good. And so it's God's desire to have our heart know him and our heart return to him. The verses were coming to my mind: create in me a clean heart, O Lord, and renew a right spirit within me. All right, and that's one of the prayers that David prayed after his sin with Bathsheba. And so it's God's desire to sometimes use that chastening, that correction, that captivity to get us back to a right place for him, for our good. And then we're going to go a little further, and he talks about that the evil figs, the naughty figs, the bad figs. And it says, and as the evil figs, which cannot be eaten, they are so evil. Surely this said the Lord, so will I give Zedekiah the king of Judah, and the princes, and the residue of Jerusalem that remain in this land, and them that dwell in the land of Egypt, and I will deliver them to be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth for their hurt. The other one was for good. This one's for hurt. To be a reproach, a proverb, a taunt, and a curse, in all places whither I shall drive them, and I will send the sword, the famine, the pestilence among them. They will be consumed from off the land that I gave unto them and to their fathers. Oh, so we see this vast contrast between the good and the evil. The one's for their good, and this one's for their hurt, right? God desires right responses. And remember, we were talking about the heart in those previous verses. Well, these people's heart didn't respond correctly. It didn't turn back to the Lord. And so he says that he's going to have to deliver them for their own hurt. And then he goes on to say that reproach, right? That shame. There is a level of shame in what happens sometimes. And he says a proverb, he's going to let them be a byword. They're going to be spoken of. It's going to be repeated for an example, of what not to do, of what went wrong. It says a taunt, a curse. That's an insult. This is the way that they're going to be spoken of. They're going to be a subject of evil, or subject to evil, rather, that cursing, right? Blessing and cursing I set before you this day. He says he's going to drive them there. And it's because their heart response isn't right. How about their evil hearts said, we're going to remain here. We're not going to go to the place where it's for our good. We're going to remain here. And some of them even said, I'm going to seek an alternative place and an alternative way. Instead of, returning to the Lord, we're going to go to Egypt. So some wanted to remain, and some wanted to just find another way altogether. They still didn't want to let their heart turn to God. They didn't want to let this hurt be for their good. So remember, that hurt was for the good of some, and this one, or excuse me, that captivity was for the good of some, that deliverance, all that. But this is going to be for the hurt, because what is our heart doing? Is our heart responding to what the Lord wants to do? A lot of times, again, that captivity, that chastening, that correction is simply to get us right back on the course that God would have for us. We've come out of alignment with what He wants, and it's time to get back on. But He knows our future responses. And so He knows what will work, what is needed, and what will correct us or what won't. Let's just be honest. Some are so stubborn. In this case, the bad figs, the naughty figs, the evil some are such is that they won't turn to the Lord. They've been hardened. A lot of things can harden us. I read this morning about a man hardened at his face, but sin hardens our hearts. So anyways, just gonna say this morning, how's your heart respond to the captivity? How does your heart respond to those difficult times? Because it's God's desire to use it for our good, and to have us return unto Him, and to know Him, right? And return unto Him. All right. Have a blessed Friday.